Hello everybody! Today I'm going to show you how to make corduroy and knitwear by using markers and colored pencils. Everything starts with the garment drawing, but you shouldn't be doing directly on the marker pad. You have to decide about the folds and rehearsals, everything on transparent paper first. Here I'm using some 50 to 55 gram Schöller transparent paper because it is thin and it is adjustable. They are selling it by rolls. So I have the mannequin and I have to place it by paying attention to gravity rules. So because of the gravity, not everything just stick on the skin. They fall down, they create drapes. For these you need to use observations, but basically our body is following our movements. That's why here I'm just drawing the top part, which is going to be a crop knitwear like this. And here we have a high waist corduroy pants. Corduroy is basically velvet that is woven with stripy looking, but it is from the garment itself, from the fabric itself. So here now I try to draw a belt. I really advise to see some real belt and try to draw accordingly, because we always mix when there is the buckle how the other party is going from that part. So I'm going to use a corduroy which has elasticity inside. So the fabric, if there is no elasticity, you can never follow the part that is fitted like that. And because of the gravity, I draw the biggest part here, and yes, I have to be careful about the width of the hemlines. They have to be equal or very similar, otherwise it doesn't look right. And when it is touching the floor, it has some little drape around the hemline. I also advise to use not normal eraser but the soft eraser, because it doesn't leave any marks. Here I will also show you how to do braids. So drawing braids is not difficult at all, but you have to just note that you take 3 parts of the hair and then you are braiding them. And I always place the lines so that I can put the eyes and mouth in a correct place, as you can see. There are lots of different braid types, by the way. So here I'm going to make some part of the hair with braids, the rest is going to be just loose. So what I do here is I start with pro marker. I have almond color here, and I'm placing first the shadows. It makes me rehearse a little bit also. And if you want to have a very pale skin, very whitish pale skin, this is the way to do it. Just apply the shadows with a light color and leave the whiteness of the paper for the rest. But today I don't want to do it. I just want to make it like normal one, because I know that if I'm going to scan it, I'm going to lose a lot about the skin colors and rendering. So if you make it a little bit darker, it's going to be easier. Here now I'm using Pro Marker's Orchid color, which is a lilac shade, and I'm shaping the garment according to the bust. And if you want to have the lines of the corduroy or the knitwear, you can just make it like that. But it is also important what type of a garment you want to create. Is it going to be a flat one? Is it going to be a woolly one? But When you practice like that, you have to make all these lines, the ribs, according to the shape itself, not completely straightforward. So note that there is a bust there, so you have to move your lines a little bit and shape them. And here, because it is going to be behind, it needs to be darker. And I place everything according to that part. I never draw all these lines totally 90 degrees to the page end at all. I'm drawing by piece, reshaping to the shape of that body part and garment part I'm doing it. If I'm going to continue like that, I'm going to have not a woolen but more like an acrylic type of look, because it has lots of whiteness inside. If you want to have a woolen effect, you have to use colored pencil. So when you do knitwear, it's very important what type of a composition you want. Like mohair is hairy wool. There are lots of different wools that can be used in knitwear. And here I'm using a warm gray. Warm grays are basically brownish type of gray. So you may be thinking, why gray is not gray? And you have to note that there are different shades of gray, because in order to get gray, you have to mix lots of colors together. And according to the majority about it, it's going to be bluish, greenish, reddish, or brownish, like this. That's why this is called warm gray, which has warmness inside. Warm colors are, all the on the color chart we are talking about red and yellow and orange. So basically I did the very similar thing that I have done in the knitwear, but here now you have to decide about also the corduroy width. If it's going to be baby corduroy, it needs to be very small lines. If it is going to be thick corduroy, which I intend to do, you have to be sure that the drapes are also thick, because that fabric is not very thin one. If you have a pant, you are going to understand it much better. And here, according to the shape, every part I'm drawing them separately, as you can see here. And even when you try to make the shadow, you have to pay attention to these details. She looks a little bit fat now, because I especially made it because when we use thick corduroy, it's always looking a little bit fat. But if you want to use more dark shadows, you are going to see that she is going to shrink. And here, it's very important that in the hair you always leave whiteness. That is the crucial one. Here I'm using a very soft yellow with a brush tip. When you do hair, I really advise you to use a brush tip, which is going to be much more easier, and also to give the hair is going to be easier. So I go from one side and then I'm going to merge the other one. I'm making a very simple braid here. And I just gave the contrast. But if I don't blend that contrast, it's going to be too strong. So you have to decide, basically, like my idea about the color of the hair was something like honey color. So I could have put that buttercup type of light yellow from the first start or at the end also. But I like to plan, because I can change it much better in that way. Now I'm putting the darkness, and when you design, it is very important that you have to think about the whole silhouette as if she is going to a fashion show. So she is your model, and don't make just stilettos or very straightforward. Think about the whole stylization of her, what you want her to wear, what type of a model you want, what type of an accessories she is going to do, and add it to your illustration. It always works. Because the style is a whole. You cannot just, make it into pieces. And don't forget that illustrations are the impressive drawings that we are willing other people to get, like my collection much more better. So basically, if you don't draw for drawing's sake, but think about her all design all together as a whole, then you are going to become much more better illustrator. So now I'm using the colored pencil with a very sharpened tip so that I can make all my blending in a good way. And I'm doing all the shadow bit by bit. I'm not doing everything one time. No, I'm just raising the bar every second that I put, so that I can make it controlled. And so that if I make a mistake, I can make it much more better. But you can think about it like you are chewing the garments. If you chew it well, you can digest well. It is very similar. So if you try to make everything very fast, it doesn't work. So according to your talent capacity, yes, you can make it better, but you cannot make it too much faster. Because if you want to do good rendering with colored pencil, you have to take your time. That is a common fact for everybody. So you have to be patient. If you are not a patient person, maybe you can learn how to become patient when you are drawing illustration. Here, because I wanted to have it more woolen, I just add it like that. The whiteness of the eyes, the pupils, are also very important. Add it or just make it from the start. For your lips, please don't try to make with your markers, because markers will be very thick. You have to barely touch it if you want to draw anything like lip color. But you are just a beginner, so don't try to make it. Otherwise, you spoil everything and you have to make it all over again. So now I'm using a darker shade of the violet, which is more like a purple. You can also use other colors like black, gray, but I just wanted to have a vibrant violet, so I'm using another purple. But every time I'm drawing all these lines, if you can just shake your hand a little bit when you are doing, it's going to be more like a mohair effect about the lines. Then I use the art liner, 0.1 art liner, for the places that needs my attention, not all over. I'm just thinking about where I need clarity and I'm adding it. And these details are very important. We try to show the details. This is an illustration which is made for design, to show the design. It's not just artistic. So our idea is to make whoever is going to look at these garments understand all the details. Here I'm using a brush tip, dark brown, because I need a little bit darkness, but I know that I can create some shadows with these, and because it's a thick fabric I'm drawing, I'm using it. I just wanted to have more drama. And also because there is colored pencil, sometimes art liners are not working on colored pencil too much. So these are always working. And here now I'm using a little bit more shadow. Generally speaking, if I'm not making a video, because when you are making a video there are always some limitations about time and your charge is finishing, etc. Otherwise I would be making it in longer time, because when you make corduroy you really need to spend a lot of time. But here is the deal.